I said, Mr. President, you told us we were here to be serious. If we're not serious, we have to go.
They walked out.
Why don't we go outside?
Milosevic reminded Mladic that if they stayed out, NATO would destroy his army.
Ja se bojim da je general Ratko Mladić, koga inače cijenim kao oficira i kao čovjeka, nažalost nakon 3,5 godine rata potpuno izgubio kontakt sa realnošću.
The Americans were called back in.
I kada smo dobili garancije da i muslimani moraju da povuku teško oružje i kada smo dobili garancije da muslimani ne smiju da nas napadnu, i tada smo postigli neku saglasnost.
The Serbs withdrew the heavy weapons that had crippled Bosnia's capital. The Americans called off their airstrikes. All the Americans needed to start their peace conference was a ceasefire in the rest of Bosnia. The Muslims and their Croat ally scrambled to grab territory while they still could.
Zapravo, Srbi su još uvijek imali više od 49% u svojim rukama. Jasno je da, kako gospodin Izetbegović, tako i ja, da smo smatrali da taj poraz koji su Srbi doživjeli treba iskoristiti.
In the west of Bosnia, Croat artillery and Muslim infantry sliced through Serb lines. The conquering armies drove a new wave of Serb refugees into Serbia and Montenegro.
Prije svega Ameriku animirali sa činjenicom da bi taj veliki egzodus naroda radikalizovao političku atmosferu i to više ne bi zavisilo od odluke bilo kojeg rukovodstva, nego bi objektivno događaji tekli prema tome da se mora ući u rat.
Holbrooke took the warning seriously, but now that the Muslims had the bit between their teeth, it would be difficult to persuade them to stop. To put his case, he chose a public display of American friendship for Bosnia, the swearing in of a new ambassador.
And I will faithfully and well discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. After the swearing in, I asked if General Don Carrick and I could see President Izetbegovic alone.
We were at that time in the negotiations that if we did not get a ceasefire, that we might not have this moment again for some time.
To persuade Bosnia's president to stop his army, the intelligence officer painted a grim picture.
We were concerned that the Serbs were now reinforcing their area from Sarajevo and others where weapons had been withdrawn.
I said, Mr. President, they're going to be able to punch holes in your lines because they're too thin.
Vojne akcije su s naše strane išle kod nas jako dobro. Nama vojnici su procjenjivali da ne bi trebalo zaustaviti vojnu akciju.
I said, well, you are shooting craps with the destiny of your country.
The Bosnian president returned to his office to consult his generals. Was it possible the Americans were deceiving him?
Ja sam rekao da mi imamo snage da idemo dalje i da ne treba prihvatiti primirje.
Jer mi smo u tom trenutku imali i snage i sredstva za realizaciju tih zadataka koji smo već sebi unaprijed postavili.
But President Izetbegovic had another worry, his Croat ally. A week earlier, the Americans had told President Tudjman to ease off.
Tudjman was very pleased to comply because he didn't want to over-strengthen the Muslims anyway.
Molim, to više nisu bila izravno hrvatska područja, mi bismo u svakom slučaju imali daljnjih gubitaka.
Mi smo znali šta to znači. U slučaju da nastavimo rat, mi bi ga morali voditi sami. Bez Hrvata i sa osudom svijeta. takav rat nije imao nikakvih šansi za Bosance.
But Izetbegovic told the Americans he would need to sell the ceasefire to his people.
He said, okay, we want the water, the electricity, and the gas turned on.
Istina, htjeli smo da dobijemo na vremenu još. Ja sam prihvatio prekid vatre u roku od 5 dana pod uvjetom da se otvori Sarajevo.
Siju. Rodilo nam, brate. Evo ga dobro pravo.
The longest siege in modern history was over.
I'm pleased to announce that the parties in Bosnia have agreed to a ceasefire to terminate all hostile military activities.
The president's men rushed to turn the ceasefire into a peace treaty. They would apply all America's diplomatic muscle. They chose an unlikely venue.
Welcome to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, one of the largest and most diverse United States Air Force installations.
With his re-election looming, President Clinton gambled that cooped up in the base, the 3 Balkan presidents would hammer out a deal. He gave his men 17 days to twist their arms.
Are you optimistic about the talks?
I am. If I am not, I wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Thank you. The Americans' hope for peace depended on the man they once called a war criminal.
How confident are you the talks will succeed, sir? Come over here. How confident are you the talks will succeed?
Well, I'm optimist. I believe the talks will succeed. We attach the great importance to peace initiative of the United States.
On behalf of President Clinton, I welcome you to the start of these historic peace talks. If we fail, the war will resume and future generations will surely hold us accountable.
And then I walked around to the other side of the table where they had been carefully placed, and I sort of pushed them together and urged them to shake hands, which they did.
Izetbegovic knew these talks would ratify the division of his country. He'd already agreed to share half of Bosnia with his dangerous allies, the Croats. The rest would go to the Serbs.
Moram reći da su prve karte prvih dana dolazile potpuno neprihvatljive i ja sam komentirao u jednom momentu da su Srbi po svojoj prilici prespavali zadnjih pola godine dana.
From the start, Izetbegovic told his prime minister to conduct the talks.
We cannot revive the dead. We cannot revive the 17,000 children dead in Bosnia. But we can get some justice here, and that justice means a fully functional Bosnian state. Integrity, sovereignty, justice, democracy. Thank you. Okay.
The constitution of a new Bosnian state was to be drafted here. Powers were stripped from the central government and given to the Muslim Croat Federation and the Serb Republic. No one wanted these ceasefire lines as permanent boundaries, but attempt after attempt to change them led to deadlock.
I had always had in my mind a 17-day conference, and here we were on day 16, and we were nowhere further than we've been on day 11. It was a very cold and biting day, but I said to Milosevic, let's walk. And Chris Hill and Milosevic and I took off, accompanied by security guards, and we walked out to the edge of the base and around the fence.
And we ended up at the officers' club at about 11:45.
Holbrook's assistant then invited the Bosnian Prime Minister to the officers' club.
Maybe we could get them together and they could at least talk like, human beings.
I went over to say hello to Siladic, and I told him that Milosevic wanted to talk about Gorazda.
And he wanted to come to my table.
He said no.
The fact that he comes to my table gives him, in a way, a psychological advantage. That he is doing something, that he is making a concession, and so on. So I said, no, I'll go to his table. These are the small Balkan ways.
They began to speak in Serbo-Croatian. And Milosevic was saying to Harris, what do you want?
What he asked for was security for Gorazda, the one remaining Muslim enclave in eastern Bosnia.
we wouldn't leave it as an enclave there. We had to connect it territorially with the rest of Bosnia.
Kriza u Bosni i Hercegovini može se rešiti samo političkim putem. Ne može se rešiti vojnim sredstvima.
And he said, enough is enough, I'll connect it, I will do that. You can get a road under the international control from Gorazde to the territory.
It was agreed that NATO would build the Gorazde-Sarajevo road. So now Milosevic had to negotiate with the Americans just how much Serb land he'd give up for it.
So that night I brought President Milosevic into our little map room where we had these high-tech video games used to make more precise bombing. We had the entire aerial photograph of the entire country, and you could fly with a joystick over any part of the country, stop, look straight down, look sideways, go up, go down.
Prvo mi je stalno na pameti kad je Holbrook pogledao na ekranu Bosnu. Vidim li ja to ovdje? Nema ništa, ovdje su samo planine, nema kuće, nema sela. Mi kažemo, tačno nema, ali takva je Bosna i ovo je on se uhvatio za glavu.
They had to find a corridor through the mountains that was wide enough to be made defensible for the new road to Gorazde.
And we began to, quote, fly President Milosevic up and down a road that ran through the mountains from Gorazde to Sarajevo, which if upgraded, might do the trick. We did this till about 2 in the morning while a great amount of alcohol was consumed. So finally, Milosevic stuck out his hand to me and said, okay, this is it.
And he drank a toast. Richard Charles Albert Holbrook, we have found our road.